Right, guys, welcome back to the channel and to the Dark Artisan 40k podcast, episode 2. And with me once again, we've got Mr. James Ellis. James, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure, buddy. Back again.
Indeed, indeed. Now, the podcast is a little bit delayed by a few days this time because we were waiting for the reveals at the New Year Open Day. And yeah, I feel like we're still waiting.
Bit of a wet squib, not much, really.
Yeah. Now, I went to the Vigilus Open Day just over about 14 months ago, and I was a bit disappointed, to be honest, because they revealed everything online before you even get to go inside.
Mm.
And then, yes, the models are on display. Don't get me wrong, it's very, very cool to see the models, right?
Yeah.
In person. But once you've spent like 5 minutes walking around the hall and you've had a look, there's not really that much else to do. And even the seminars that they have on, as much as they are Q&As, they don't tease anything. They talk about what's on show, and they'll ask questions about like the design process and everything like that.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. You don't get anything extra. So for me, travelling as far as I would have to get to Nottingham,
Yeah.
for that event, it for me it's a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that.
But on top of that, I wasn't excited by much in the reveal. I mean, they announced a campaign book for Age of Sigmar, which I'm very interested in, having just picked up my Slaves to Darkness army.
Mm.
But then the main focus was the Shadow Sun model.
Which I find really weird.
Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful model, right? And as somebody who actually quite enjoys Tau, I love that model. I converted a Shadow Sun in a Ghost Keel after the stories of the 7th edition campaign books. I can't remember what it was called now. But like I love that model. I think it's fantastic.
That's beautiful. The Tau players should be very, very happy with that. It's a nice, very, very good looking model. Nice dynamic pose. I think a few people have not been overly happy with the base, but apart from that, I think it's a really nice model.
It is. But where's all the reveals and the rules and the leaks and stuff for Psychic Awakening 4? I mean, we got Lazarus on Christmas Day, and then
that's it.
Then they showed us a different head swap, and you can carry a bolter instead of his helmet.
And they did the Grey Knight short story,
and that's it.
And there's been no real rules release or stratagem release, and it's the Thousand Suns are up against. Yes, because it's Magnus. Yes, of course it is.
Thousand Suns, Grey Knights, and Dark Angels.
Yeah, so there's been nothing. There's been a lot of speculation about Thousand Suns that and I think some of them are probably fairly accurate, that they're going to be obviously a really psychic heavy army again, and the smites may be buffed up, so that some of the units or some of the better characters will be doing harder smites, easier to cast smites, and that they may well be potentially another psychic line for them, maybe. Be interesting.
Now, having recently just played against them, actually, and the battle report will be out very soon on our YouTube channel, Thousand Suns do feel like, they can dish out smite hurt.
Oh, they're still powerful. Compared to Grey Knights, they're massively powerful.
Well, exactly, and this is what I don't get, right? Grey Knights are a unit of Psychers, right?
Yes.
So why does their smite only do 1 mortal wound?
Yep.
And why is it only range 12 when you've got a single sorcerer as a squad leader for a squad of Rubric Marines that can do a D3 smite at range?
I've been thinking about this. Do you think they may go something along the lines of something similar to a Warlock Conclave, where the larger the unit, the more powerful the smite, or the easier to cast an ability, or the more powerful the smite there may be?
That would be a good mechanic for Grey Knights, because obviously if you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 Marines in a squad, then do D3 smites, and if you
it adds
if you get below,
1 to the damage, and it adds +1 to the cast.
Something
you lose
like that.
4 models, it drops it back down, or I don't know. Something like that would be really interesting dynamic, because what are they going to do realistically with Grey Knights? They don't have doctrines as such because they're Grey Knights. So where are they going to lead this? I don't. That's why I'm trying to wonder. And that's what's making me wonder why they've not released anything particular about them yet, because maybe it's going to be a bit lackluster again.
Yeah.
I hope not. I really do. They need something desperately.
Yeah. But not just them, though. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are really far behind, but Dark Angels are nearly at the bottom of the pile now as well.
Yeah, but they're going to get doctrines. So that won't be enough, and I don't think it's going to make them an equal to something like Blood Angels, which are sort of shot back up now because of the doctrines and the other abilities they've got. But with them, assuming they're going to get access to a lot of the same stratagems that Blood Angels did, which I can't see any reason why not. You think of giving them dreadnoughts, making their dreadnoughts harder.
Yeah.
That's going to make them very interesting. They're already their good ability with plasma. Are they going to get something again along those lines that reinforce their abilities? Because what's their current abilities? Isn't it basically they stand still and they
get reroll once to hit if you stand still? And I've said this before. As a Ravenwing player, why would you ever use that?
Yeah, it's pointless. As
a Deathwing player, why would you ever use that?
So I suspect they at least may get 3 different branches.
They should. I mean, they did it in the Dark Eldar Codex.
Yes, and I really hope they do. So maybe they'll readdress that silliness so that the Raven will actually have a completely separate, something along the lines of an extra jink or something would be good. So an extra -1 to hit when they do something. Something along those lines would be really good for Raven Guard. Make them harder to hit, or make them hit a lot harder when they charge home. Would be really, really good. Deathwing need to get some sort of bonus coming out of the teleportarium. I would like to see with them.
Absolutely.
Like a +1 to charge, or +2 to charge, or something like that. Or on the attack they get +1 to charge and an extra attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that would be really cool. And then just something just to tweak the green boys up a little bit, so that if they stay still they get to reroll their 1s. All right, that's fine for Devastators. It's just something else that makes them a little bit more punchy, or give them something. I don't know. It's hard to know what that would be with the basic Marines.
Yeah, but I agree. I think the 3 factions within the Dark Angels do need splitting up.
Yes,
because they all work so differently.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
No.
Because you drop in with Deathwing, all right, yes, you want to unleash your bolter fire and your assault cannon fire and probably cyclone missile, but you then want to follow that right up with a charge. You want to eliminate one target with fire and then push in, and that 9-inch charge, as we've all experienced, fails more often than succeeds a lot of the time. So it'd be interesting to see what strats they get to help them. Looking at Blood Angels with the stuff that buffed up Sanguinary Guard.
Yeah, there was like 3 or 4 strats for Sanguinary Guard, and another 2 or 3 for Death Company.
Yep, and I strongly suspect, I hope beyond hope, that then pushes through to Dark Angels as well, and also to Grey Knights, to give the Paladins a few extra strats and abilities to use. To be able to make something master, or to give them a banner, to make them master crafted, and that may be where they strengthen them a lot. Is they give them specific war gear that boosts their psychic abilities and makes it easier to cast things and do different things.
Do you know what would be good? Because the carry halberds don't. What about a parry strat where they're -1 to hit them if they're all equipped with halberds?
Yeah, something like psychic shield. So when they drop in, they've pre-chanted, so they've got a psychic barrier that absorbs damage on a 5 or a 6, or is a -1 to hit because the warp's still crackling around them and deflecting blasts and beams and stuff, or it adds a +1 to their denial if anything's cast on them when the turn they land.
Just something to represent. Like, I know they're not custodians, right? But they're not far off.
Well, they're not custodians, but they're supposed to be some of the best cycles in the Imperium.
Well, exactly.
And that is not represented in their, certainly not in their current rules.
Nah.
And certainly not in their current abilities. You know, all the characters easily should be able to do full-blown smites, and there should be a way to bump at least one unit to be able to do, even if it's something like that, when a character casts, a single character casts a smite, if he rolls a 10 or above on a D6 on a 4+, the unit next to him could do a full-blown smite as well. So they buff as they do something. So if something goes off, and you can improve that with the stratagem. Just make them interesting. Give them some dynamic to their play. Make them go, oh, do you know what? Actually, I don't want to take 50 strike marines. I want to take terminators. I want to take a character heavy force that has some hard hitting elements.
The problem with Grey Knights is you can't play them like what you used to, because in 7th edition you would just keep them off the board, deep strike them in, and, you know, strike down, hit hard, where now you can't, because you can only keep half your army off the board. You've got to then have enough on the field so that you can actually survive 1, possibly 2 turns of fire. And it just... The rules for reserves and deep striking and everything just don't favour Grey Knight's playstyle.
Unless they get a buff that way. So that actually their rules... Okay, they don't get doctrines, but they get... As a Grey Knight player, playing a full Grey Knight force with no allies, anything else, you know, the standard stuff, you can have 1 unit on the board and deep strike, whatever. You know, they play around with the rules.
Do you know what would even help them?
It would, but
if they used similar blip tokens to Gene Stealer Cult.
Yep, you could have. Yeah, you can have anything realistically.
But as much as like have it as like a target spot where they're going to land on the first turn. Technically, the count is being deployed because you've got to do that with at least half your army. But at least you've got some form of distraction there.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool. I think they need a lot of buffs, and if they get doctrines, it's kind of wrong because it doesn't fit in with Grey Knight's play. They need a bit of a and I don't think they're going to get in that one book, but they need a bit of a revamp with how they play. Because if you give them doctrines, it's not right.
It's not. It's absolutely not.
It doesn't fit in. Doesn't fit in with the fluff, and it doesn't fit in with their play style either. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It worries me more that we've not seen much.
Yeah, which is the big surprise about the open day is not seeing any of that, because like we're supposed to be getting this at some point in January. Now the pre-orders have already gone up for next week, which is the Sisters of Battle, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But like not even any hints of Satan Awakening 4.
No, nothing. And you know, it's going against everything we've seen recently. Like when we've had the last 2-3 books, it's been a consistent stream of information.
Yeah.
You know, they've shown you key elements and key stratagems and characters of everything. I mean, all right, in fairness, we had slight tangent with the when they did the Space Marine new books and the supplements with those. We had the first 2 characters released, so we had the Imperial Fist character and the Salamander's character, and I know they were just trying to pump out stuff. But even with everything else since then, it's been a really sort of fluid, consistent stream of good information, and you kind of knew the best stuff. Yeah, and it just like we were chatting about this earlier. It just almost seems to lend itself that someone's made a bit of a cock up. And just put something out that maybe that they shouldn't have, and that they've been forced into a situation where they've got, God, we've got to show this model.
Oh, the whole Shadow Sun thing.
Yeah, because it's just...
It seems odd that they've showcased that when they haven't done anything with Satan Awakening 4 yet.
Yeah, and it's slightly disappointing that we've not seen some sort of new model for for the Grey Knights.
Yeah.
But
do you know what would have been cool for the Grey Knights? Get Crow.
See, I've heard a lot of people say about that. Yeah, and you're not right. I mean, to be honest, a lot of their models are quite old. Oh, very old.
Oh, Drago's model is terrible.
Yeah, Drago would have been a perfect one.
Yeah, but what and make it so that like he doesn't have to go back into the warp or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's come back out, and he's not crossed the Rubicon, but he's just, because of how the warp's affected him, he's Primaris size. There you go. That's that sorted. You don't have to do the Rubicon stuff, which would have annoyed a lot of Grey Knights players, and fair enough. But he's just, because of the period of time he spends in the warp, he's just double hard.
Beefcake! All the warp dust he's been sniffing.
Yeah. But just think about what cool dynamic model you could have made with that. Like,
yeah,
it would have been incredible. Unless there's something coming further nearer the end of January, they're prop that, maybe that, you know, being the eternal optimist, maybe that's why they've not released too much. Maybe there's something really special coming.
Hopefully, we can hope, but I've got a sinking feeling that it's not going to be.
So have I.
Very much at all.
But like the Lazarus model, I think's a nice model. I think the pose,
but
static.
But realistically,
I really like it.
Who wanted a generic character for a big chapter like the Dark Angels?
When you've got so many charismatic
you've got
characters.
Ezekiel, Samael, Azrael.
I think a lot of people were thinking Azrael was going to come.
Mm-hmm.
But I can kind of get why. I mean, like, to a lesser extent, Mephiston. Like, I was surprised it was Mephiston, really, because he isn't the chapter master. He's not in charge of the Blood Angels.
But that's the thing. Dante is so important to the Imperium that they didn't want to chance him not making it through.
On retrospect, that does make a bit more sense. But it's just like you were expecting someone a bit more, like, high. It's a bit unfair on Mephiston, but higher up.
Yeah.
Like, and to throw out a sort of random, a new character for Dark Angels is a little bit sad.
Yeah.
When they've got really good, and because then you know at the moment there's going to be no decent remodeling of older characters.
Like the Iron Father guy, yeah, it was a random guy for the Iron Hands, but it made so much sense, right?
Yeah, well, it made sense because
there's no Primaris Tech Marine, so it makes sense. Yeah. But when you look at Ultramarines, they got Calgar and Tigurius. Yeah. You got Khan, you got Korax.
Yeah.
And then you get to the Iron Hands, and yes, they got the Iron Father. Okay, I can accept it. But then you get the Salamanders. It's like, Ajax Agitone. Great, who's he?
Yeah. Well, same with the Fists.
And Torgaradon. Great. Yeah.
Why wasn't it Lysander?
Exactly. But why not release a Tushan model for Salamanders, or why not do Vulcan Heston?
Which would have been an incredible model, I would have thought.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because to us, I don't mind the model as it is. I think it's not the worst model I've seen. It's still a good looking model. But you imagine really updating that would have been with the current modelling and how the fire would have looked. It would have been incredible. Really, really cool. But yeah, no, and like I say, it's quite a static pose. I think it's my least favourite of the new ones so far.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not disappointed that Dante didn't cross the Rubicon. I'm fine with him not crossing. I'm disappointed at his lack of new model. Well,
I'm more disappointed with the lack of new rules than the fact he should get chapter master full rerolls.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
That's annoyed me a bit more, really.
Yeah.
Because he's dropped in points, so he's almost worth taking in an army if you're thinking slightly more competitive. But just not having that ability to reroll everything.
When you consider a Smash Captain is only a couple of points less now, actually, yeah, Dante might be worth it.
I think he's still worth it. I think it's the one thing that's letting Blood Angels down now.
Yeah.
Is that lack of full rerolls.
And you, of course, you don't even have access to the Chapter Master strat because your Chapter Master is Dante.
Yep.
Which, it's a shame. It really is.
No, it really is. It definitely is. But Dark Angels, it'd be very interesting to see what they get. I suspect it'd be very similar lines to Blood Angels. They'll get the Doctrines. They'll get a few strats that will bump up all the different specialist units.
If they just give them strats and don't change the rules for them, I'd be disappointed.
Yep, that's fair.
They really, really should make the three factions different.
100%.
But I really don't think they will.
Yeah, I'm concerned they won't. I mean, I guess it depends what the second part of their rules will be if it's a pure pure Dark Angel. So it may be something like, okay, they get the +1 if they stand still. That might be the basic standalone for all of them. And then they add the flip to it.
Yeah.
So that, all right, it might be something that's really sort of as tedious for the Raven Wing that, okay, as a Raven Wing, you ignore the standing still part of the reroll ones. If you move still, if you move and don't advance, you count, or even if you, maybe even something along the lines of, if you move and advance, you count to standing still for the purposes of that roll.
Yeah.
Which will be not the worst for the bikes, considering the amount of shots they can pump out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially if you're taking the plasma talons on the Knights.
Yeah.
And did the Knights get a drop in points at Chapter 3?
Yes, I believe so.
I think they did. And they were already a fairly good unit. Oh, they were they were a very good unit that were poorly costed.
Yeah.
And that points drop is still not enough, I don't think, but it has just brought them down a little bit. So again, a bit like the Sanguinary Guard, they've tweaked around a bit. In my opinion, maybe not as good as the Sanguinary, because I think actually the Sanguinary Guard are really competitive now for the Blood Angels.
Absolutely.
I've got 15 waiting to paint that. So they're going to get done for my competitive Blood Angels list, because that's a unit I'm going to be an army I'm going to be playing with this year. And I think it'd be very interesting for the Dark Angels how they're going to do it. It would be nice if you get some actual buffs for mixing Dark Angels, so that if you get some cool stuff if you go pure Green Tide, pure Raven Wing, pure Deathwing. But actually, if you play around with it a bit, they support each other better.
Yeah,
would be really, because that's how Dark Angels are supposed to function. They're supposed to support each other. Each element fulfills a niche, and they're supposed to fulfill that niche to a high level, so that the idea of them working together as this cohesive force, they should get something that helps that.
It would make sense.
Yeah,
it would make sense. But like we said earlier, they showed off the Shadow Sun model. Now. Yeah. There's no hint as to who the tower actually going to be against in Psychic Awakening 5. Now, I predict it's actually going to be the Admech.
What's it called again? I can't remember the name of it.
For the Greater Good.
Yeah, so they're not really giving anything away with that.
Not a thing.
Well, except for Tau, obviously.
But when you look at the reveal picture, it's on a very pixelated computer-style screen, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I think that hints at Admech, but we also saw the Admech flyer before Christmas.
Yes.
And apparently it was again on show over the weekend. So I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if it's the Admech. And especially if Shadow Sun's getting updated and that, because the Admech are over near the Damocles Gulf and they were involved with it previously.
And also it makes sense with the fluff side of the Admech wanted to seek better technology, absorb better technology, recreate stuff, create new things, taking in. And obviously, the Tau's technology is very advanced, so it kind of makes sense in that regard as well. That the Admech will be seeking them out,
but at the same time,
take stuff away from them.
There's also the mentions of the Startide Nexus as well, which is rumored to be light speed travel for or warp travel for the Tau. So
opens up Tau to being a real powerhouse.
Exactly. So obviously, if they've discovered warp travel, then surely the Admech are going to be breathing down their necks.
Yeah, it's not a bad call.
Yeah, I genuinely think it's Admech.
Yeah, because nothing else. Because like I said, with the we were talking this earlier. With the reveal earlier, there was. I'm on a lot of the Eldari Harlequin Facebook pages, and there was a lot of talk about Harlequins were mentioned, and that there's the potential for them becoming a really significant part of the Psychic Awakening, which kind of marries in with the story that's been told because they're mentioned several times. They appear in the trailer, and it doesn't quite carry on that they would be in the next in book 5, because I can't see them radically going against the Tau unless the Tau are pulling at something they shouldn't.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably right. I think it's probably the Admech.
I wouldn't be surprised if Admech and Guard are in, but I don't think Guard will get a lot. I think they'll get similar treatment to what they got in Vigilus.
Yeah, I think it'd be. Yeah, I think they'll get some cool new strats. What new model would the Guard get?
Well, actually, now that you mention that, so the Silent King has been rumoured in the White Dwarf, and they've actually put an article out about the Silent King. So I think Necrons might get a new model, and I wouldn't be surprised at getting a new Creed.
I was wondering with Creed,
because isn't he in Anarchy of the Traveller's magic box?
I don't know. I'm a bit lost to the fluff. So he disappeared at the fall of Cadia.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Anarchy of the Traveller. Basically, or no, it might have been Trails in the Infinite. He basically captured him in his little Pokeball thing.
I've got them all.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. A little sort of. Wouldn't it be good if he was sort of part Necronized? Sort of a bit of bionics on him a bit.
But yeah, I wonder if they're waiting for Guard and do that opposite Necrons to follow that up. Because, like I said, with Creed disappearing, nobody knows exactly where he is. Nobody seems to care.
Yeah. Be interesting to sort of just bring him back. And then after that, we've got the Space Wolves and Orcs by the looks of it. That's the next book, isn't it, after that one?
Well, it's called The Beast Arises, which obviously heavily hints at Orcs and Space Wolves. Yeah. But it makes sense, if they've just updated the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, then they need to do the Space Wolves. But my question is, where do the Death Watch fall into this? And this goes back to what you said about the Harlequins, because the whole Yunari thing, and all the fall of Cadia, the fracture of Baal-Tan that happened in 7th edition, started because Watch Captain Artemis had a beef with Eldrad, and the Death Mask box that came out just before the end of 7th, Eldrad started the ritual, and that's what woke Ivrain up.
So that's maybe where the Harlequins get their time to shine.
So maybe they'll update Deathwatch and Harlequins after that. But I mean, that still leaves several factions out, even if you consider a 7th book, because Death Guard won't have had an update at that point. And Genestealer Cult won't have. And like I said, Guard and Necrons won't have. And Knights.
And Custodes.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
There is a lot. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at another 3 books. But then you look down and you're like, actually, I've got 9 expansion books here. That is...
And also, if you've got Knights, you've got to do Chaos Knights. And they don't... I could imagine them doing Guard and Knights in one book.
Yeah.
Or Custodes and Knights in a book. An Imperium with Knights with them. Where do you fit Chaos Knights into it? Unless, you got Death... I suppose you got Death Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe... But then that's very specific.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to fit the last few factions in.
No, it's... It's one of those weird ones. Is it going to be where the last few books are actually more than 2 or 3 factions, and they actually try and sort of wedge in 4 factions because there's not a lot to deal with, or are they just going to carry on with this sort of 2? Well, I suppose the Eldari was Craftworlds, Jakari. I suppose that was 3 as well. Yeah, so it's difficult to know what's going to happen now. And they seem to be playing around with how they're releasing information this year. Very early part of it, but it's not as consistent and as flowing as it has been historically.
Yeah. It's a hard one because, like, why not? If they're going through all this trouble, why not just re-release each of the codexes?
Well, which they're going to do, because they've well.
But if they're going to re-release,
they should do, because they've set the precedent with the Space Marine Codex, and they've set the precedent of doing faction-specific updates with the updates they've done with Salamanders, Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
So if they're not, and as we've said many times, they've now created this huge gulf between Space Marines and so many of the other races. Yeah, all right. Admittedly, there are some races that are doing quite well. You know, Necrons can do and do very, very well against Space Marines. Tau can and do very, very well against Space Marines, but they're very, very specific builds of those races. They've brought some of the other races up to a closer level, but even then, the Space Marines are getting the lion's share of the abilities. I mean, you look at the first book with Eldari races.
Yeah.
You know, they got some cool stuff, but nothing realistically that brought them up to the same level. No. And then Blood Angels turn up and they get some really good stuff that brings them pretty close. And a good Blood Angel player can beat a poor Imperial Fist player.
Yeah.
And then so it'd be interesting to see what they do with the Dark Angels and the Grey Knights, how they bring them up to that sort of level. But yeah, most of the race is still crying out for a new codex.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to level them up to that same, just to level the playing field realistically.
Yeah.
Because, like we've said before, the points cost, as good as they are, it doesn't really help alleviate the real crux of the problem, which is the ability for Space Marines to re-roll the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. But it makes me wonder, what are they actually going to do with Tau? Like, are they just going to give them custom traits like what they did with the Tyranids and the Eldar? Mm-hmm. Are they actually... Well, let's speculate Shadow Sun first of all. Now, they did put in the article that she can lead any force. Now, as long as she basically has the same rules as a Phoenix Lord, which means she can go in any detachment without breaking the allegiance, great. Are her rules still going to allow her to enact Montkar or Kauyon twice? Probably not, because I think twice is very powerful. And I'm guilty of it myself.
But is it as powerful?
Is it going to affect all Tau models, or will it still specifically be Tau Sept models? And will she get the Tau Sept trait if she stays in a Tau Sept detachment, but basically just not get it if she's leading another force?
Well, I think she should get some sort of bonus if she leads another force, definitely. And Tau, again, they're generally very... There's 2 or 3 decent builds of Tau currently. But I've been watching a few guys that play Tau very, very well. There's a channel called Tabletop Titans.
Yeah.
And what the guy there that plays Tau there can turn a bad Tau unit good. Like, he knows how to play Tau.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think Tau needs too huge a rules buff. I mean, they're already one of the better counters to Space Marines.
They are.
I think they need more, and like I'm not saying they don't need anything. I think they need a few tweaks just to bring some of the lesser used units in, and that's where I'd like to see them go. I'd like to see better stratagems and some of the set traits to buff units that aren't necessarily used as well or as commonly. So, like a breacher, a few breacher stratagems or ability that with Tau set breaches are better, or something like Fire Warriors are better with Tau sets or Borkan or something like that. That they really play with them a little bit and just bump up certain use, like they seem to be doing. Like quite a few people are talking about the fact that a lot of the newer stratagems again seem to be tweaking lesser used units.
They are like
and make them a lot better.
There's a couple in Blood of Baal that actually work against Maleceptors, which nobody was using because they were so bad. And it actually makes you think, might I take one now?
Yeah. Or even just the ability to make Sanguinary Guards shoot better.
Yeah,
do more damage.
Yeah, the fact that they can just re-roll wounds for 1 CP is brilliant. Because if they're within range of the Warlord, they already get re-rolls to hit.
And they should be, because their Terminators firing at bolt drill anyway.
Yeah.
So they should be. They're chucking out a lot of shots.
Well, they're not, because it's only Assault 2, their weapons.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Not Good Rapid point. 2.
Yeah.
But still, the fact that you can make all of their weapons minimum damage 2, you still roll. But the fact that if you roll a 1, it's still a 2.
Yeah.
Is brilliant. So hopefully they'll do more strats for things like that, because I know there's one for like Crude Hounds, there's one for 2 for Breaches, there's one for a stealth suit, but you've got to have a Ghost Keel as well. So if they introduced more strats for other units that aren't as commonly used,
then I know a lot of people talk about Kroot, for example, that it'd be really
cool.
Kroot
is so good
to buff up Kroot. And to make them actually, make you see a Kroot. And there was some really cool stuff about talking about taking mercenaries. So as the Tau do, they absorb a lot of humans, don't they? So they look at other races, which you could quite easily do by sort of perverting the Brood Brothers rules for Imperial Guard.
Yeah, you could take a guard squad, but they're then classed as, I think it's Guaversa they call them.
Yeah, something like that. And then maybe you could, if you could do for 2 points per model, you can upgrade them to have pulse rifles. So that you can do some really cool conversions then, because again they've set the precedent with having the Grey Knights Grandmasters.
Yeah.
So it's like goes back to the Legends a bit. I find it really annoying that they've decided to take a load of units out because they're Legends. When they've basically said, well, actually, you can have a Grey Knight Grandmaster, which is basically a Dread Knight, but your take on it. Yeah. So they've kind of already set the precedent to be able to do almost what you want to do, but only for select use. And I'm not saying that in many ways makes Grey Knights OP, because we all know it doesn't. But you've set the precedent here. Why not just carry it on?
Absolutely.
Just keep going. Okay, yeah, we'll give you the rules for this. But you make the model.
So yeah, I hope that they pick things up with the rest of the armies. And like I said, I am looking forward to the Tau one, and I hope that it's AdMech, because I quite like me AdMech as well as me Tau. So
I love the steampunkness of AdMech.
Yeah,
I think they've got cool models. I actually really like the flyer. A lot of people.
I love the flyer. I think it's awesome. Brilliant.
Yeah, I really like it.
I'm not a fan of the D-Day boat. I'll hold my hands up. It is much better in person than in the pictures.
Yes. Yeah.
But I still don't look at it and go, that's cool. I don't think that at all.
No, I quite like it. I like it. But I wonder if it actually boils down to the D-Day image. When you see a lot of them together, I think it looks pretty cool. So I think it's the D-Day attitude, like you see them all coming in, and they needed a transport.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was using my Terax drill because they didn't have a transport. But so the other big news this weekend is Sisters of Battle are on pre-order.
Yes.
Which is wow.
The models are awesome.
They are so beautiful. So the things that have gone up for pre-order, we've got the Codex and the limited edition Codex. We've got dice. We've got the data cards. We've got the Battle Sister Squad. Is that 2 different boxes?
I've only seen one, but I've only just been re-looking today.
Oh, sorry, it's a Retributor Squad.
Yeah, yes.
Which is equivalent of the Devastator Squad, but with Melters and Flamers.
Yes.
And we've got the Triumph of St. Catherine, which is like a load of monks and cherubs carrying St. Catherine's coffin.
Yep. And that gives you loads of different bits and pieces. I've seen a lot of people talking about that.
That model looks amazing.
Yeah. And there's the statue as well. Have you seen the statue?
I saw the statue, but apparently they didn't have it at the open day, and it's not up for pre-order. But at the open day, they also had the Repentia engines.
Yes.
Which apparently come in boxes of 2.
Oh, really?
Yes, and you can actually build. I think there was 2 or 3 variants, and you can build all the variants out of one of them in the box.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
So that's cool.
And that's interesting.
There was also the I can't remember what they were called, but the cultist guys with the electric arm whips.
Yes, the Arco Flagellants, was that them?
I think so, yeah.
And they had the Combat Seraphim as well. I can't remember the name of the other ones.
They did. Again, I can't remember the name, unfortunately, but yes, they did have them.
They look cool. They are beautiful models. I really like those.
Honestly, like, they are so nice. However, when I look at the Battle Sister squads, I see Stormcast Sequitors.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I do.
No, you do. Yeah.
That's if you look at the boots and the knee pads and the robes, it's just Stormcast Sequitors.
Yeah.
And that annoys me because it feels like it's lazy designing. Or the Sequitors were the precursor of these.
Possibly. We know that there's a lot of borrowing now back and forth, and there's still a lot of rumours that if 9th edition drops, it's going to be very similar to Age of Sigmar with the alternating turns.
Yeah.
Which I'm still not convinced isn't going to happen later this year.
I genuinely don't think we need a 9th edition.
I don't think we need it. I wonder whether it's... and again, being a bit negative, it's a money-making thing where it's just a nice, easy reason to just redo everything again. You get a nice new box with 2 new factions, and then they can pump out the army books again.
Do you know what, right? If they're updating the army books the way they are now, and they're doing these campaign books, all they would have to do is go, right, here is, call it 9th edition if you want, but here is the new rule book. Update all of the FAQs, the big FAQs that have changed all of the rules, reword your rules correctly, and you know, put things straight, because they've already experimented with it with Age of Sigmar, with the gaming manual. They basically pulled the core rules in from the core rule book, they pulled the missions in from the core rule book and the Grand Allegiances. They then pulled in all the relics and spells and realmscapes from Malign Sorcery, and all of the missions from the General's Handbook as well. And they smashed it all into one book rather than carrying 3.
Yeah.
And it was A5, and I tell you what, if you buy that in your battle tome, you don't need anything else.
Yeah, no, I agree. What I find frustrating is Age of Sigmar, which is supposed to be the lesser, realistically, of the 2 gaming franchises, has the better website, the better ability to do your army scrolls online.
Yeah.
And the what's Warhammer 40k got, which is supposed to be their premiere. Like, by far, Battlescribe knocks the pants off anything else.
Well, that's the thing, they were supposed to be working on their own, but where is it?
No, exactly. And, you know...
And there was a guy building it, and didn't they, like, basically buy him out so that he had to do it for them instead, and it's just never turned up?
No, nothing. Not even heard of anything. Wasn't there a power level one you could use? But that was just power level, so why would you use it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. But
I think there was one that was rubbish.
But even Warhammer Community Site has got War Scroll Builder, which is the best one there is. It's better than the Azir app.
Which is madness.
And it's free and it's on their website.
Exactly. That's what I can't work out. And the thing is, a lot of people have been talking about this for donkeys, is the ability to do all the points changes. I think a lot of the army books should be the fluff, the rules of a unit, but not the points cost. I think the points cost should be online, because then it ruins your book every time you have to update your points costs. And you put your little post-its in. Do it online.
I did like that about Chapter Approved 19, mind.
What, splitting them into two?
No, the fact that they actually included all points, regardless of whether it changed or not. Right. It's just, this is what all the points in the game are.
I don't disagree, but I would much rather that was because you get, the thing is, right, let's put it very simply, you're going to buy, if you play competitive or match play, generally you're always going to buy the Chapter Approved.
Yeah.
So why not just do a $2.99 a month subscription so that you just get it downloaded straight away?
No, I agree.
And they'd still make their money. Easily. Because you wouldn't be importing the books from China. You wouldn't be able to print it. It will be out on time. You could tweak it a lot easier. So if anything radically popped up at the last minute, say Rax suddenly with 2 abilities become ridiculously powerful, you can tweak it day before the books it's even due to be released.
Yeah.
It will be a far more efficient use. And they wouldn't lose any extra money out of it. Because people would pay it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely they would. Going back to Sisters, though.
Yes.
How much are these going to cost? I reckon it's going to be £35 or £40 for the Sister Squad.
Oh, easy. Yeah, definitely. Because just look at the pricing of everything else that's gone up gradually. Like, that'll fit smack in with those.
Yeah. And I think the is it the Repentia Retributor Squad? I would expect that probably to be £30, which is the 5 with the 2 cherubs.
Yeah.
St. Catherine, 50, I reckon.
Yeah, mid to late 40s or 50s.
No, yeah. I would say more, because Catacross from Age of Sigmar is only on a monster base, and he's a very similar style to this, with like the modular base and several models on the base. I would actually put this at 65 quid.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not a lot of Sister stuff that's gone up when you consider everything that's coming out, because you've got the transport, you're going to have the organ tank, you're going to have the...
I've seen the organ tank. I saw a picture of that earlier.
It does look beautiful, mind.
I don't think I like the dice. I think the dice are going to annoy the hell out the Sister dice are going to annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah, they're hard to read.
Yeah, I don't like them. But yeah, I think the tank's going to be beautiful.
But how many more things are you going to have? So you're going to have the tank, you're going to have the scenery, you're going to have the transport, You've got both Seraphim squads, you've got the Flagellants, and there's a handful of characters and stuff which will be coming out. You're talking at least another 10 releases. So, I mean, even if they do another 2 weeks worth of release, that puts us to, they're out the 18th, so you're talking 25th, you're talking into February for the Sisters, which means we won't get Psychic Awakening unless they drop it at the same time, which I very much doubt, until middle of February.
Well, they've kind of done it to a degree with the Dark Angels book and the Thousand Suns and the Grey Knights, because they've kind of released both at the same time again. So maybe they will. Maybe there'll be more of an earlier release with Sisters in February, and the next Psychic Awakening book will be very end of February, because obviously it's a leap year this year as well.
Yeah.
End of February, early March, or there'll be this wave of sisters. February will be the next lot of Psychic Awakening, and then the next lot of sisters will be after that.
Possibly.
So they're just spreading it out a little bit because they know the problem is they know how much people are craving the sisters.
Yeah.
So do they really want to release every single little bit in the first 2 months of 2020? Or do they want to tease it out a little bit more?
No, I think where they've done it works quite well, because obviously they're not out until the 18th, then the 25th, then people have been paid and they'll buy the third wave.
Yeah.
So I think doing it where they're doing it is almost a smart move, apart from the fact that people are going to be skint in January.
Yeah. But maybe that's why they haven't pushed it as hard.
Who knows? But
no one's got any money.
But yeah, I don't think we'll see Psychic Awakening until February. But even on top of that, though, you've then got the fact that the new Everchosen Battle Tome, which we've just had the Slaves to Darkness. I don't know why this one's come out. I think it's a campaign book. But then you've also got the Ogre Warband for Beastgrave coming out as well. So I think there's going to be a week. I wouldn't be surprised at a week to split apart the sisters and then go back to Psychic Awakening. That's what I think.
It would make sense. They're consistent with their releases. I mean, they're really pumping it out.
Mm-hmm.
But then how long is this going to last before they then start recycling everything again? Like it kind of annoys me a little bit, because again, you spend not many of us are wealthy people. You know, I've got my book, brilliant. Yeah, right. Oh, I've got a new book now, have I? Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that.
So that 25 quid, well, 30 quid book that I bought like 12 months ago is now useless.
Yeah. And that does again, and that's what makes me want it to go to an online publication.
Yeah.
Because you'd be paying the money over a year, so it's less of an impact on you.
But I mean, even the Age of Sigmar app, right? It's got all of the war scrolls on there, okay? Mm. You can get any of the rules for any of your models on there. What you don't get is your artifacts, your command traits, your spells, your allegiance abilities. That's in your book. Mm. Cool. Leave that in your book.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, put your data sheets in. If they change, fine. They're online for free. Right?
Yeah.
Points. Right. They're online on War Scroll Builder or whatever app they're going to use. Or here's your once-a-year update for them. Cool.
Yeah.
That's what they should do. But...
yeah, I think that would be fair on people, because then you'd have more money to spend on the models.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people would still spend.
Yeah.
Because you want the new shiny.
Exactly. Speaking of new shiny, I was going to ask you if you were starting any new projects, but you've already mentioned that you're going to be doing Blood Angels.
Yeah, we are. the Carrion Crows march to war. They're my own custom chapters, so I can use them as Iron Hands and everything else when I want to. But they are painted a very, very dark red.
Fair enough.
And I've got Astaroth, I've got Lamates, I need to get the new Mephisto model, and I need a few other bits and pieces. I've done a lot. If you see the state of my table at the moment, it's just a sea of red currently. I've got 6 aggressors that I need to paint up, 2 contemptors and a Leviathan as well. Oh my god.
That's a lot of stuff.
Well, also, I've got my plans for my Eldari as well. I've suddenly been thinking about recently as well, because I was like, oh yeah, I've got some ideas. I've been looking at the AOS Wood Elf models, the Eternal Guard.
They're old models.
But I'm thinking they actually, with a bit of tweaking, they'd look really cool as Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because I like the ones with the hood, the Ranger ones.
Yes.
So I'd have them as my Guardians and the Eternal Guard models as Dire Avengers. Like, play around with some of the heads. And I really want to do a conversion with the Dark Elf. What's the Corsair guy with the...
the Fleet Master.
Yes.
That's a cool model. I've got that as my Beastmaster for me Drukari.
I was going to either turn him into an Archon or like just a double hard Autark.
Nice.
Seen some things. But yeah, so I've got a very busy year planned for me. My Blood Angels are coming on really well. My Harlequins are finished for a while. I need to paint some more models up now because of the points drop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really happy with them. My Jakari are on the back burner for a little bit, just for a while. And then I'll come back to them because I want to get my Witch Cult sorted for those. And I want to play around. I really want to play around with some of the other craft worlds to make them to build your own.
Yeah.
Because I think seeing some of the other people play them, some really powerful ones, and mixing that in with Ynnari. I've been watching a guy play Ynnari recently, but using some other craft world abilities with the mixed match. The one where you're always in cover, and the one what was the other one he was using?
But you lose them if you play Ynnari though.
Oh, you have to have them as the thing. Oh no, how did he do it then?
I think someone's been naughty.
Someone may have been naughty.
But you lose that because you gain strength from death instead.
No, he had separate attachment.
Oh, right.
Had them as a separate attachment. Apologies. Yes, that's how we did it. Because you don't lose it, not like Space Marines where you marry attachment stuff. Yeah. So yeah, he had a few things that used it really well, and then he was smashing people with Ynnari, doing really really well. So yeah. A lot of things to play with. Oh, the Wild Riders I want to use for my Shining Spears.
Yes.
With some of the mixed in with some of the Cold One Riders with the helms.
That would be quite cool, actually.
Yeah, so I think that's my plan. So it's going to be almost like an Exodite type force, but they're not Exodites. They're basically just a ragtag group of survivors. And that's going to be the sort of. I'm going for a Storm type colouring, so they're going to be like a really dark grey, but blending up into a blue.
Right.
So they with like gold and silver helms.
Very nice.
So that's the plan.
For me, I am working on my Slaves to Darkness army, which is 9 Varangard and Archeon. All that lovely gold trim. Yummy.
9 years of painting there.
Yeah. Well, I've done one lot of gold trim while we've been talking tonight, so that's 1 out of 6 done. Because 3 of them were already done. For me, though, it's mainly expanding the rest of the Blood Angels. I mean, I still haven't painted my Invictus Warsuits or my Impulsors. And I'm going to paint more Death Guard as well. I've recently just finished 5 Blightlord Terminators, which are in a battle report, which will be out next week. And painting up more Marines, because I don't have enough Marines for my Death Guard. It's just there's so much detail on them that by the time you've done 5, you're bored.
Yeah, yes.
Well, not bored, but fed up.
Have you thought about doing a combat blob of Death Guard?
Yes.
With the axes? Are you doing it?
I've got a lot of different weapons. I've got flails, I've got some axes and stuff in there. Because I actually bought loads of parts from Spellcrow. And basically just kit bashed them with a boatload of spares from Blight Kings. I was given a load of spares from the Blight Kings from Age of Sigmar, and you just get like so many axes and flails and scythes, and I was just like, yeah, this is my combat squad. So yes, I am looking at it, and eventually I will get to it. Because who wouldn't love that in combat with Veterans of the Long War on? I
think they look good. I think it'd be good. And have you thought about running them as like other type? Nurgle type marine units like the Purge or something like that, and doing a bit of Purge stuff.
To be honest, I probably could, but I haven't really looked into it. I'm just enjoying playing Death Guard as Death Guard for the moment.
I bet they do look like a lot of fun. I've fought Death Guard a lot. My mate Alex, who I've spoken to you about a few times, he plays Death Guard as well, and I hate them because of the disgusting Brazilian. He makes so many of his.
Well, you know how bad my dice rolling is.
Yes, mate.
Well, it was the opposite in the battle report, which I was making a lot of disgusting resilience rolls.
I look forward to that one.
But yeah, I was rolling as hot as what Lucy does when we play Sigmar. Honestly, the amount of deathless that she makes is unreal. It's like, oh yeah, there's 3 damage, Lucy, and she'll go double 6 and a 5, and it's like, howie, man.
See, I don't normally like AOS, that much watching the battle royals, but I do always enjoy you and Lucy playing because she tends to beat the crap out of you. It's always funny. So how have you made that wrong? What's wrong with you?
I actually called her disgusting once as well. I think I tell you when it was. Actually, it was when she did the. We were just playing a daft game, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to bring me Star Drake because like it doesn't see the table. It's shit, right?" And she was just like, "Oh, I'm going to use the Storm ability." So I rolled 20 dice, and for every 6 you take a mortal wound. And she rolled 12 sixes.
That's brilliant.
And it's just like, what? How do you do that?
No, they're always worth a laugh, those ones, definitely.
But that brings us to the end of this week's show. James, of course, thank you very much again for joining me.
Pleasure. Oh, and if anybody's got any spare Guardian bits, preferably shuriken rifles and arms, let me know or let Harry know.
Yeah, I'll certainly pass it on. But I'm looking forward to the next few... not the next couple of weeks, because I'm not bothered about Sisters, but certainly from the beginning of February, I'm excited about what's coming in Psychic Awakening.
Yeah, no, I am. I think again, like we said before, we're in line with some really cool stuff. I'm really excited for down the line with Space Wolves and hopefully Harlequins. Please give Harlequins some good stuff.
No, I agree with that as well. So make sure you check out other episodes of the podcast, guys. Remember, next fortnight's podcast will be Age of Sigmar, and then a fortnight after that we'll swap back to 40k. So I expect hopefully to see James again in a month's time.
Yeah, Marty, I'm always up for it, you know that.
And for the time being, guys, make sure that you follow us on Twitch for Monday Night Hobby Streams, and make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube for all the battle reports, reviews, and much more. But until next time, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.